As now we're moving to the next session, we'll be discussing nutraceuticals for reproductive health of women. I request Dr. Nandita Palshetkar, esteemed gynecologist, to please come on stage. Let's have a huge round of applause for her, please.
Hi. Good evening, everybody. I think it's a great pleasure. First of all, I want to say thank you to Miyavita Biotechs. Rohit, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to this beautiful crowd. I think it's very, very important. And as your president, Dr. Patel, said that COVID taught us a lot. And I think that's so very true, that we realize that what is the importance of nutrition. And that is what I'm going to tell you, how it affects the various phases of women's life. Okay. So if we look at a woman, basically it's infancy, then childhood, then of course puberty, sexual maturation, premenopause, and menopause. And remember, today, girls, we are spending 1/3 of our lives in menopause. And we are living longer, but that means what? We are superb, we are healthy, but 1/3 of our lives is in a hormone deficient state. So I think we need to look at it holistically. We need to make a difference in our patients' lives. So if you look at age 20, oh wow, you feel great, the hormones are fantastic, they are keeping you absolutely supple, healthy. Age 30 plus, I'm into infertility, I practice, test tube baby processes for 30 years now. And what I have seen now is 30 plus women, the younger girls are also showing aging, ovarian aging, and decline in the ovarian age. And that is very, very troublesome. And those are some of the things that we can make a difference by adding nutraceuticals, by changing the diet, and where you play a very important role. Age 40, of course, the libido is declining, mood swings, muscle loss and weight gain, hormones have declined. And this is the point where actually, as a gynecologist, I would enter and make a difference. And it's important that this age group, 40 to 50, is the important age group, because you can make a lot of difference in the women's lives. And if we work together, if we work synergistically together, I think it'll make a hell of a difference. And of course, 50 plus is menopause, and we have all the problems of menopause, but they start as early as 40. And there are certain things which are available today which we can take to help us. So nutrients are really responsible. If you look at this picture, it's beautiful. If you look at the hormonal regulation, you can see calcium, zinc, magnesium, ferrium, selenium. Ovarian function and ovulation, the different calcium, zinc, ferrium. All the parts, the oxidative stress. Now, what does this indicate? This indicates that your female reproductive system needs all these micronutrients, essential minerals to function properly, to remain healthy. And what Dr. Patankar has said in his lecture, as he mentioned, that the dietary content of the food that we have may not be enough. And this diagram actually tells you the importance of each and every element. And that is what is important, because, I have a friend, I was in America, we had a medical college get-together, and you know what he told me? 28 supplements in the morning, 32 supplements in the night. He's a freak. Very healthy, very this, but he says, Nandita, I take this. So, what we've realized is, of course, we don't need to go to that extreme, but certain things need to be supplemented, and it's very, very important. AFIGO, which is our International Federation of Gynecology and Obstetrics, it's our international organization. I'm the representative from India, and that has come up with very beautiful line. And why? Nutrition has today become very important, because think nutrition first. Any problems with the women's health, we have to think of nutrition. And we have now, in fact, I was in a, in a scientific meet maybe a month ago, and that is a FOXY focus. Focus means we have absolute scientific data related to that topic, and that topic was nutrition in women across ages. And we are, we are putting out a publication on every aspect of the woman's age and what nutrition is needed. I think FOXY or the gynecologists have realized, I think the world has realized from Dr. Patankar's talk, so I can make out that nutrition is very important. And that is why there's medical nutrition therapy, which actually exists. And that makes a lot of difference in everybody's life. So, nutribiography. This was a new word I learned, believe me. I think it's very, very important because what it does is the effect of an individual's dietary history and supplementation on their clinical signs and symptoms and the pathogenesis of this disorder. Now remember one thing, we gynacs or we doctors have to work hand in hand with the dietitian. We have to work together because this aspect, it's too much in details. It's difficult for a practitioner to get into it. So usually all our clinics, are attached to some dietitian or the other. Right now with the new fad of Ozempic and semaglutide and all, I mean, obesity has become, very treatable. But I still think it's not only obesity, it is the quality of the ingredients that you need that is important. And that's why the dietitian comes in here. So if you look at nutrient bioavailability breakthrough, the cooking, the storage, and the processing reduces the nutrient levels in foods. So yes, you may be eating it right, but you may not be eating the right combination. Because calcium, prevents the iron absorption if you take it together. So all these aspects must be, thought of. So when we are consuming these, like in Ayurveda, they say don't have, in naturopathy actually, don't have water before. You cannot have water during the food. So all these things have some scientific basis and we need to understand that. Now, simple thing like oral contraceptive pills. I just wanted to give you an example. Women, 2/3 of the women take oral contraceptive pills. And those oral contraceptive pills cause nutritional deficiencies. And that is why the supplementation is important. So even iron deficiency anemia, nearly 2/3 of the women, non-pregnant women, there was a National Health Survey last year which said 60% of the women had iron deficiency anemia. And in pregnancy, it's very important that you supplement it. Iron is required for every function of your body. Oxygenation, it goes all over the body because iron, it gets converted into hemoglobin. So that is what it's important for. And imagine our Indian diets are so deficient that we do not have iron-rich foods. And even if you eat those foods, you may not eat them with the right, partner, so the absorption is poor. Then the gut dysbiosis again further causes all these nutritional deficiencies which Dr. Patankar mentioned. I mean, I really loved your talk. It was very good. So diabetes mellitus also. I mean, we see in our, we did a study with the DIPSI, which is an organization with FOXY, and nearly 1/3 of the pregnant women, 1/3 of the diabetics who were diagnosed in pregnancy, 1/3 of them were caught in the first trimester. I mean, we have to become aware of it, because what does it do in the first trimester? It causes increased congenital abnormalities, it causes increased abortion rates, all those problems can arise. And as I believe in inositol, I believe, of course, in metformin also, but today, he was talking about berberin. So we can give all this preconception, and we can continue inositol during pregnancy and, take the benefit of it. I'm not very sure about berberine during pregnancy, so I'm not commenting on that. Yeah. So, so these are the things that we can do to improve our, health. And diabetes, believe me, if it comes in the second trimester or third trimester, they are large for weight babies, they have polyhydramnios, meaning too much fluid, so they're born early. If they are born early, they go into NICU. There's a lot of cost and, of course, heartache that your child is in the ICU, neonatal ICU, and what is going to happen to that baby. So I think we can prevent all these things by taking care of the nutrition. Preconception micronutrient supplementation on female infertility. This is something which is very, very close to my heart because the girls come to me preconception. When they come to me for infertility, I always tell them there are 4 pillars to the treatment. One is exercise. Second is nutrition. Very important. Nutrition, you can help yourself, but I'm going to add supplements to you. You can eat the healthy food. There is the Mediterranean diet, which is supposed to be pro-fertility diet. Take that. Then third is mental health. Very, very important. It's important to be happy, important to be positive, important to manifest things. And also, remember, like some people, I do advise meditation, mindfulness, whatever. People like me, and I think Rohit also told me, he cannot do meditation. The brain is too fast. You can't just focus. So I think one of our influencers told us, do yoga, do pranayam. Just count, and you'll be there. But believe me, when it comes up to pranayam, I'm like, okay, enough. I've had enough. So people like us, I believe that meditation should be a focus on something, which you do. Let's say you enjoy aerobics, you enjoy Bollywood dancing, you're dancing with your whole being into it. I think that makes a difference. It de-stresses you. It takes your mind away from everything. Or even watching, Big Bang Theory. For those 25 minutes where you're laughing, you're focused on it, you forget about the problems of the world. So I think that. And the 4th pillar is, of course, me. I will help you get you pregnant, okay? So I think it's very, very important. The preconception micronutrient supplementation is extremely important because it gives a holistic health. And you need all your micronutrients plus the minerals because it affects our oocytes, it affects our endometrium. Even the growth of the baby, the first trimester, very, very important. In the male, I treat male patients also because male infertility is part of my treatment. So preconception for the male. Today, you won't believe it, so many girls are smoking. They are on recreational drugs. So, coenzyme Q10. I love the Ultra Q. And the dosage which you said, 300 BD, is what we use. And it's a phenomenal drug. I'm taking it now even myself. So it's very good anti-aging. There's so many properties of different antioxidants. And after today's lecture, I think I may also start taking 26 supplements in the morning and 26 supplements in the night. You have to provide me with them. I have no clue what he's talking. So you have to provide us one tablet with 26 substances. Okay, so some of them are mentioned here: omega-3 fatty acids, omega-6 fatty acids, carnitine, green tea extract, magnesium, selenium, choline, soy, vitamin D, vitamin K, calcium, coenzyme Q10. A lot of them are missing, glutathione, etc. But I think what's important is multiple multinutrients. I think it's very, very essential for general health. And if you look at PMS, one of the commonest problems which we have, and we don't have treatment for it. Trust me, we give vitamins, we give primrose oil, but we used to, when I began my studies 30 years ago, okay, I'm ancient, I always thought it was just a placebo, but today research has come out showing that these things actually work. You can give it along with your oral contraceptive pills. But believe me, there is a group which has severe PMS, and those need different treatments. Those need medical treatment. You need to go to a doctor, start the SSRIs, etc. But mild to moderate PMS can definitely be handled by nutraceuticals. Inositol in oogenesis. Oh, I love this molecule. I have a lot of patients who have shown early aging, or even normal patients, PCOS patients. It makes a lot of difference. The quality of the oocyte, the DNA of the oocyte remains intact. The embryos which I've got are good quality, implantation rates are better. Everything is really helped by this inositol. And believe me, a lot of girls have mild insulin resistance when they come to us for infertility, and it really works well. And of course, the combination of it with other drugs, I tell my patients, I'm giving you a breakfast. They don't need to have breakfast because they're having all these supplements. But unfortunately, it is needed, and it helps our pregnancy rates. I'm not saying it will completely cure it. Yes, some patients it can. I'm going to give you a history of one patient who it did. But otherwise, it assists you, improves your pregnancy rates, and definitely helps. Coenzyme Q10, I am sold on it. I have been lecturing all over the country on coenzyme Q10, its anti-aging effects, its effects on ovary, how it helps the oocyte, prevents DNA problems so that child does not have abnormalities, abortion rates are reduced. It's a wonderful drug because it is a mitochondrial tonic. Mitochondria is then all the billion cells that you have. So it works on mitochondria. So it's wonderful and it's required. And deficiency can be there in different, you give statins, you cause a deficiency of coenzyme Q10. So remember that you have to find out what you're giving and what your patient needs. But infertility is given to all men and women. I'm not going into the details because I'm sure you all know all the details, but I'm just telling you where. Isoflavones and menopausal management. Yes, there are a lot of reviews. I did read a lot of reviews that they do not have that much effect on the hot flashes and all. But there are sporadic articles which actually talk about bone health, and I was very surprised to read it, that bone health is improved by isoflavones. And that, to me, is amazing, because in the old age group, the women have problems of fracture other bone becomes very weak. So I think if something like isoflavones, I am a proponent of giving menopausal hormonal therapy. Along with that, if you can add these supplements, it'll be fantastic. So this is one of the final slides. Role of nutraceuticals in women's health, menarche to menopause. We're not talking about infancy, I'll leave it to the pediatricians. Integrate the use of nutraceuticals with standard of care. I think a normal woman needs these nutraceuticals. Fish oils for dysmenorrhea if she has, EPO for PMS and mastalgia, coenzyme Q10 for male and female infertility, nutraceuticals used to enhance health and well-being, essential fatty acids, vitamins and minerals for stress, then the branch chain amino acids in exercise training and aging, EPO and Shatavari for postmenopausal symptoms and well-being. And as I said, think nutrition first. Disturbance or unhealthy diet, we can correct it with nutrition, good nutrition. Malnutrition and overconsumption of non-nutritive calories should be educated, should be addressed, and address the nutritional needs across the age groups from menarche to menopause. I think this would be really the take-home message today, that we need to treat our women. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nandita. Wonderful lecture. I've written a lot of notes actually, but let's see how much we get through.
I'm going to make him answer his own questions.
Okay. No, these questions are genuine questions. I don't know answers to these, really. So the first question is, how can we incorporate healthy fatty acids like GLA in PMS?
Basically, if you look at the science behind it, GLA gets converted into prostaglandins. Prostaglandins actually reduce the inflammation and the myalgia, and they help in the PMS. So you can either eat or take supplements. But eating, as I said, you may not get the right amount. So usually we prescribe supplements to the patient.
Thank you. How can products like OvaCare or coenzyme Q10, which you mentioned in your presentation, be integrated in ovulatory and non-ovulatory infertility issues alongside standard drugs?
anybody who wants to conceive or in preconception, I feel, even then, IVF guys, yes, we want to improve their quality and everything. But I think even for a normal patient, if we give it, it does not harm because the doses are in the required rate, and hypertoxicity does not occur with this. And what I've seen is when we give Ovacare, especially in my infertile couples, whether they are ovulatory or non-ovulatory, it improves the egg quality, improves the number, the abnormalities which I see on embryos, the grading of the embryos is better. And coenzyme Q10, don't even get me started.
No, you have a full presentation on that.
I love the molecule. I think it is fantastic the way it acts on the body, and it is a mitochondrial tonic, and you definitely need it as you're growing up. And with age, I think Dr. Patankar also said that coenzyme Q10 actually drops the production, and we really need to supplement it and take it. Anti-aging, girls, very good for anti-aging.
Good. Thank you for finally saying that we doctors should work with dietitians, because I really find it difficult to make the two work together.
Oh, come on. No,
So,
not in the city of Mumbai. I think a lot of doctors are working with a lot of dietitians.
And where do we draw a line? I mean, is there a defined line where a dietitian's role ends and a doctor's role starts, so they can just work throughout together, say in infertility treatment, pregnancy, or even other problems like PMS and menopausal symptoms, for example?
So you know what? I look at it in a very different way. Special conditions. Like pregnancy, I always send my patient to a dietitian because it's important. There was one slide, I don't know if I skipped it while talking, but because we give micronutrients which are necessary, the intelligent quotient, the working IQ or whatever, there were big words over there, but basically the child becomes fabulous, intelligent, EQ is good, there's no stunting of growth. See, India is seeing a lot of stunting. The next generation will be stunted unless we turn around and give nutrition to our mothers. So I think that group, my fertility group, I definitely refer to dietitians, especially for weight loss, not general. But I think what probably happens is if a general person comes to me, I would prescribe it. We would not get a dietitian involved. But today what I've noticed is every person has a dietitian. So I think y'all are rocking it because every person goes to a dietitian. So I think it's a great combination, and the only thing is if you'll cure everybody, then what will happen to me? So think a little bit about me.
Good. And probably my last question, unless anyone else has any burning desire to ask more questions, but drug-induced micronutrient deficiency you talked about, that if you're on statins, you may be deficient in CoQ10. Is that something you make your patient aware of, that look, I'm going to prescribe you this, but you may then have to take this supplement to make sure you don't fall deficient?
That's a very good question, because what happened was even I learned about it after I got into the depths of coenzyme Q10. See, maybe cardiologists know about it, but we gynecologists are using statins now. We're using resveratrol. So all these drugs do cause it, and we need to educate our like oral contraceptives I talked about. So there are a lot of drugs which cause micronutrient deficiencies, and I feel that you do need to educate the doctors also about it, because then they will educate the patients. So there is a gap somewhere, there is a lacunae somewhere, and I think summits like this, maybe we can, in AICOG we can have your talk
combined
plus a
session,
dietitians,
yes.
we can we have our All India Congress where we can actually do it in January and educate the doctors. I think it's very important.
Yes, and educate the dietitians maybe on some kind of treatments that patients usually go through. So when the patients come to them, they can have some standard questionnaire, are you on these drugs? And when I've seen in some countries, it actually happens by default. You go to a dietitian or a mental health professional, and the first question they ask you is, are you taking these drugs? Are you on antihypertensives? Are you on other blood pressure medications, diuretics, etc., before they start on anything. And vice versa, when you go to a doctor, they ask you what kind of, is there any kind of special diet that you follow? Have you taken any food group out of your diet
Yeah.
because you're trying to lose weight or something?
All those
so I think
fads.
this could be a synergistic effort.
I think that Nutri biography, which was actually mentioned, I think we need to work together and we need to do it. Like B6 deficiency causes depression. I mean, you know, we have to be aware of all this. So I think nutrition should, I feel in MBBS, nutrition should be a part of the syllabus, where actually, and I have a lot of friends who believe that their diseases can be cured only by changing their diets. And there's so much coming on probiotics now. I mean, probiotics as a, you know, precursor to diabetes, precursor to heart health, etc. So I think all this gut biosis, and with advances which are coming, you know, there's something called genomics, where you study the genes. I did a test actually, where some 250 food products, but it was a test to just test my IgG, IgM, and IgE, to see if I'm sensitive to those foods. And actually, if you alter them, you not only lose weight, but you also have improved this. So that then genomics, all the genetic studies will actually guide you as to what the person needs. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot, I mean, you dietitians can really rock the world. Because if you incorporate genomics into your treatment protocols, I think it'll really, really change the way you function.
Very well said. Dietitians can rock the world. So we end the session on that note. Thank you. Thank you very much.